Hi everyone. We're going to find the inverse of a rational function in this one in particular, and we're going to find the domain and range of the inverse and f, and we're also going to verify by composing f with f inverse. In this case, they give us a restriction that x must be positive, and that's because if we do the inverse, it won't be an inverse function. So basically, the first thing we do is change this to y. We interchange the x and the y. And again, this has to be, x has to be positive. All right, again, this is your inverse now. So basically, we're going to say that y must be positive. Okay, now cross multiply, and you get 3xy squared equals y squared plus 3. In this case, x is going to be greater than 1/3, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. All right, we're going to solve for y, so I'm going to move this guy over. And factor out the y squared. And what we're going to get is, you divide both sides, you get y squared equals 3 over 3x minus 1. Now, when you square root both sides, remember x, it has to be positive, so we're not looking at the negative. You square root, you get square root of 3 over 3x minus 1. Now, since we have a square root here, we know that inside here, this is like saying square root of 3 over the square root of 3x minus 1. You can't divide by 0. On top of it, this quantity in here has to be greater than or equal to 0. So we're going to set this to just greater than 0 instead of equal to, because it's in the denominator. So when you solve, you get 3x is greater than 1, and x is greater than 1/3. And that's why we have the restrictions here on this. Okay? Now let's talk about the domain and range. Let's see. We're going to do the domain of f equals the range of f inverse. So basically, the domain of f was all real numbers, but x is positive. Or you could write it as 0, infinity. Therefore, the range is all real numbers, such that y is positive. And then the range of f, just because we switch the x and y. Remember that the domain is your x, your range is your y. So our domain of f inverse, we're going to do that first. We already looked at that, and we know that it's all real numbers, but x has to be greater than 1/3. Or you could just say as 1/3, infinity. And so therefore the range is the same thing, all real numbers, but y has to be greater than 1/3. Or you can write it like that. Okay, now we're going to compose these. This one's will be a little harder than the last one. So let's see what we have. We're going to compose f with f inverse of x. So that's f, and my f inverse happens to be square root of 3 over 3x minus 1. So my f, my outer function, is x squared plus 3 over 3x squared. My x happens to be my inner function, so that's going to be square root of 3 over 3x minus 1, square root of 3 over 3x minus 1. Now, I'm going to go ahead and square the top, and I get the numerator. I get 3 over 3x minus 1. I'm just squaring this square root out, plus 3 over, and this squares out as well, 3 times 3 over 3x minus 1. So basically I'm going to do what we've been doing, and that's clear the fractions. So you get 3x minus 1, multiply the denominator and the numerator by this so we can clear that out. And we get 3, because when you distribute, that cancels. So you get 3 plus 3 times 3x minus 1 over, this will cancel over 9. I'm going to work backwards now. So this is going to be 3 plus 9x minus 3 over 9. These zero out, the 3, so you get 9x over 9 equals x, which is our desired result. Let's go the other way. The other way is f inverse of f of x. This is going to be f inverse of x squared plus 3 over 3x squared. So I write my f inverse, which is the square root of 3 over 3 times x minus 1. And my x happens to be x squared plus 3 over 3x squared. So I want to simplify my denominator. So I get 3 over x squared, because these 3's cancel, x squared over x squared plus 3 over x squared. I'm just putting this x squared under each piece, minus 1. This equals 1. So basically, the 1's cancel. You get the square root of 3 over 3 divided by x squared. And this equals, we're still working inside this radical. I can move this x squared up here. So you get 3x squared over 3. The 3's cancel. So you get the square root of x squared. And remember, x has to be positive, so when you cancel that, that's absolute value of x, which equals x. And that's all. Now, for these, the 12 problems we did in this section, I'm going to graph all these, the function and its inverse, including vertical and horizontal asymptotes. Thank you and have a nice day. Bye-bye.